Hi, Elaine.
Hello, hello. Hello again from Switzerland. Very
Hello from
sunny day
London.
coming.
Hello from London. It's a Love, Enterprise, and Enchantment podcast.
It is. It
It
is. Love
is.
doing these.
Mm. We're talking about money again today. It's a part two of our podcast about money. Every
Hmm.
time we have a different kind of topic. And we
Yeah.
started about money and we thought we'd give it a little bit more time because there's a lot of questions around money, attitudes, beliefs,
Yeah. Values.
objectives. Money is a tool or a goal.
Yeah.
Money in the social economy, etc. But you wanted to talk more about navigating that fundraising and funding, navigating and put a bit more love into that story.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Why is that
absolutely.
important? Why is that
Mm.
important?
It felt really important because there are lots of people right now starting things. Young people, women entrepreneurs. In fact, age and gender are irrelevant. But that startup journey starts with the first step of your idea
Mm.
and building that into your value proposition, being able to describe a solution to a problem that you know and you understand. And there's a really key part of that journey, which is the financial part. The How do you get started? You may not have anything to get started with, or literally um,
No savings.
no savings, no capital. And I think that's really important to try and understand what you do next. And I think it's important to really open it out as a discussion because, as we have said in part one, there's a lot of shame attached to money and
Mm.
your understanding of money, and people throwing percentages and returns and this and that at you. And
Mm.
in fact, all you want to do is show up and trade something and get paid for it and put the money away and pay your costs and have some
Pay
profit and
yourself. Pay yourself.
yourself, most importantly,
Ideally, yeah, yeah.
really, and really understand from that position how to get started.
Mhm.
And I'm saying it also from my own perspective, with everything I have experienced and know from my own entrepreneurship journey. This is a space that I still find deeply confusing. Where do I get started? Who do I ask? Um, if I had to start again, what would I do?
Yeah. So what would you do?
What would I do? Yeah. And can be
Let's start
very
with
difficult.
with the beginning. Let's start with the beginning. What would you do at the beginning?
What would I do at the beginning? Well, actually, I'm gonna wing that back at you and say, what would you do? What would you say to do at the beginning?
Nah, the good old.
Yeah.
It
What's my?
depends.
Is it yeah? Is it about the future that I want? Is it about the product in the here and now? Like
So
where?
yeah. So I read everywhere. If you want to start a business, first keep your job for a while so that you can make money, put money aside, and that's all good if you already have a job. When I
Yeah.
started, a long time ago, um, I didn't have much of a job actually, so it couldn't. And actually, my first job is the one I created for myself,
Yeah.
and a disastrous thing because I organized a long time ago. Ogunte was all around social change, but community development, helping community organizations, boost and be amplified and that sort of things. And I remember one of the first gigs I did was to help set up a gig, art-based event that would have been also a platform for campaigners to talk, etc. And I just miscalculated the costs, and it cost me a lot of money, which I didn't have much of. Um,
Yeah.
and so I learned, I learned accounting on the go. I said, maybe I should have evaluated how much it cost me to. I didn't make any profit. That's all.
Yeah.
Yeah, pay the bands and get paid after that late, and the cash flow thing didn't work, so I had to learn.
Yeah.
Anyway, but I had the gift of the gob that saved me. So that money, in essence, if I just go back, it's like money is one tool in your toolkit. What
Yeah.
else do you have that it could be chat connections already? Maybe you have 3-4 connections. You have a bit of time, maybe you can try to provide something to someone, and a tiny little thing. And even if you make £10, $10,
Yeah.
20 quid, 50, just start small, but do something.
Yes.
Even if you sell your books on eBay or whatever platform, just sell something. In fact, just selling on eBay is a very good practice to get started, because
Yeah, it is.
there's a lot of learning online.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
And
just tiny start things. How would you do that?
yeah, no, I would agree. That's how I started here in Switzerland. I looked in the whole bag of tricks of my career, and I really did gig work, gig economy work, then built a coaching practice, and that was bringing me some money. And then I was working in a school, and that brought me some money. And really, because I'd come and I was starting from scratch, but it was building some. It kind of goes peak and drop this capital, and you get a bit further in capital and get a bit further. But it was exactly like that because also I was in a different space, and I didn't feel like than the UK, and I didn't know how to, and I didn't feel that I could access any like startup funding or loan.
Grants or loan. Yeah.
I didn't know how to do that. So the only and that went with the tension, because I was told a lot of times, oh, just turn it into a charity. And I kept coming back to, particularly as a woman and as a social entrepreneur, I was like, but I don't want to turn this into a charity. And the legal form here prevents me from paying myself. And it's wrong. For me, that was, I need to be able to trade. I want to make stuff and sell it and generate good things for other people, and ultimately create a franchise model where they can own that, and they can earn money from replicating my product.
So in one line, your product was?
Back then it was a coaching practice for women that I was trying to resell. That it's all changed now and still on a different trajectory, but I think that was the essence of that startup journey for me. Was I think twofold. One was letting go of what I had been in at the top of my career, as it was then back in the UK, thinking that well, I've got that salary and I've got this, and coming and starting from zero connections, zero capital, zero product, and having to sort of build it all into place. But it didn't magic its way there. It was simply, what have I got that people need that I could sell? Which is, there's the sort of myth of entrepreneurship is, the whole Silicon Valley approach. It's not that. It's simply, what have I got that I can sell that turns into something that people need? Build a little bit of capital for myself, do the next thing. And I've so many people that I've seen along the way have had to step in and out of employment, kind of build that pot again. And there's no shame to that. So at all.
No.
I guess the thing is, what would I also do now is I think I would, well, start for I'd ask you. I'd ask you a question. Your expertise in finance,
Yeah.
but the thing is knowing that it's okay to go into a into a space and say, I've got this idea, I've got this value proposition, I need some capital. How do I get that? And to be able to have people say what we're saying,
Yeah.
that I didn't want to get into. I didn't want to take a loan. I didn't want to take a startup loan. It was already difficult enough without bringing debt or more debt into my life in order to start something when I didn't know the product worked.
Yeah.
And that's
a very
really
good
important.
point. Yeah. So testing, prototyping, validating, scrapping a bit of money here and there. So these financial products are all relevant and good at a certain time. And there's enough
Yeah,
out there to find. What the first thing I would do is also understand what is the spectrum of financial products that are available on the market, from from your own savings or kitty, family, friends, etc., and to the concessionary, the grants, and then the kind of crowdfunding with benefits, or crowdfunding and with loans, equity, etc., and then the big VC, etc. Because if you don't understand that landscape, you put everybody in the same pot and you think, oh, it's either donations or loans, and it's not.
Mm-mm.
A bit more complicated than that, as in more complex, not complicated, complex, as in there's many more tools at your service.
Yeah. And
That means there's
I love the way you call them tools. They're tools at your service
yeah,
versus the tool owns you.
yeah,
And that's the difference, isn't it? Breaking apart that
yeah,
mindset at the start when it's very, well, at different stages of the journey, when it's really complex or confusing. You don't know if this product's got track record. So taking on a loan or any debt is really difficult, especially now in the world that we're in. And I think there's another element of knowing that it's okay that you have to test the product.
yeah.
And it may fail, and that's the whole point of these different products. Is if somebody's giving
Yes.
you a grant or a startup grant, they know full well that it may fail,
Yeah.
and that's okay.
Yeah. And the loan as well. Loan later on is for people who got already a bit of traction and they know exactly what they're going to spend that money on. And it could be some product material without which you can't deliver that product. Yeah.
Yeah.
And when you have an equity is actually more vague. Is like there is a strong assumption that you might deliver a service at scale, etc. And so people say, I trust you more than the product sometimes. But it's a bit vague. So I just put some
Yeah.
money and you see, so there's the element of vagueness is there all along. and it's attached to a different product. It's also attached to a different kind of homework.
Which is what?
If you even to get a grant or even crowdfunding or donations from mates via a crowdfunding platform, you need to have to articulate in a one or two sentences what is the problem do you've identified and what you think should be put in place to as a solution to that problem, in a specific context for a specific audience. So that's something that you can train yourself all the time, go out there. If you want to start on that journey, so go out there. Or if you want to pivot or change direction or stop your job, and at any stage of your life, is that okay, what's the problem I see in my room on my street? Tiny problems first, tiny problems. And am I the only one to see that, or does it affect everybody? Talk to people. And
Yeah.
then what if we had this or this or that as a solution?
Yeah. And I think that's the thing to keep in mind, isn't it? The object is not to get to kind of be in the, it's not to be in this mindset of I've got to create the perfect idea that's going to secure me some venture capital funding, and then I'm on, I'm being like those people in Silicon Valley. The object is not to get the funding. That's not the goal. The object is to trade your product.
Yeah.
So because it's there to meet a need, and it's two different mindsets, because a lot of competitions in entrepreneurship, a lot of the activities are about winning the money, and then people kind of think, well, I've won the money, I can stop
So
being like,
what?
yeah,
No.
that's when it all
No,
starts.
it's just a tool in your arsenal, in your toolkit. There, the sun comes again.
I know.
I think I look at the analogy as well, is that you never imagine a road, a public road. You're never alone on that road.
Mm.
And if you can compare, just imagine that you're gonna, get yourself a check of $1 million or pounds straight away. It's as if you're going on a high road with a little tricycle, and you're going on the motorway.
Yeah.
You got the SUVs passing, the trucks passing by,
Yeah.
and you're like pedaling, 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 pedaling. You're not gonna you're gonna get to the destination anytime soon. So
Yeah.
just learn to ride your trike or your little bike
Yeah, it's
on the
it
road
literally
with
is one step
safety
at a time.
nets, with people who can give you directions first. You can talk, trust. Then you remove the little wheels and you go on a bigger bike.
Yeah.
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 And you see that, and also, so these roads serve a purpose. They lead you to different points.
Yeah.
Same is with funding. A crowdfunding platform, a grant provider has a specific remit, a purpose, has boundaries. They've got objectives, and even if all grant providers are not, they're not all the same. Behind a grant provider, there's maybe a philanthropist that has
Mm.
maybe a sort of vanity project,
Yes.
focused
Yeah.
on one thing they want to dedicate their money on.
Yeah.
Other grant providers are a bit more systemic thinkers, so they want you to bring a product provided it has some kind of, social change attached to that, and it works in a complex,
That's way.
within a complex connection or whatever. And VCs as well, and VCs, and they all not all make returns. Actually, they don't all make returns. They fail a lot.
Mm.
Yeah, if only they invested more in women, maybe they'd fail less, but we'll
Well,
see.
exactly.
So it's a dialogue, eh? It's like having
Yeah.
a dinner
And
party.
yeah, I think that, and knowing that it's okay, you don't know what you don't know, but you got to start somewhere. So find one person, the first person that you can trust, or the first community that you can trust, to go, I'm here in the journey. What does that mean about money? And they'll tell you things like we're saying, and then you go to the next part, and I, and asking people to explain the money in ways, in layman's terms. It's really important. For me, it's really important because, in actual fact, it's like maths dyslexia, and so the minute I hear numbers, it's like they're very beautiful. What do they mean?
Oh, the Jackson
Deal with
Pollock
those.
painting. Jackson Pollock painting.
Okay, you can tell me percentages, like they're just like floating things above my head. Sorry, I'm going to have to change direction slightly to get out of the sun. And that it's okay, like knowing that it's okay, and that actually there'll be a lot of other people in the room also thinking and feeling these things, and feeling confused, and getting triggered, but just kind of go, okay, what's the money at this point? What do I need to do? What do I need to do with my product to get started? How do I evaluate it? How do I test that it's got legs? So Yeah, I
So
think
there's what I take from you is there's an element of money is never to be taken on its own. It's connected to uh, people, conversation, connection you have with people who can help you um, have conversation with the appropriate funders
hmm
or money providers or donors. It's also about your money is not just a matter of numbers. Numbers tell stories.
yeah.
You need to be able to tell the story, your business story, to people you meet along the way on your tricycle.
Yeah.
And you are talking with funders about money, but actually they're interested to see if whatever money they're going to give you, how is it going to be taken care of? What kind of magic you're going to do with their money? So they're not just looking at your product or your little idea. They're looking at you as someone who's going to carry the load, carry the suitcase full of money and do something. And are you someone who's going to be able to face adversity or face unexpected events and do something smart in
hmm
front of these events?
Yeah.
Okay. So what happens in terms of in a certain times like this year, the COVID year, we find that investors have got healthier conversations with people because people are just so much on their guard, are them so much more focused because
hmm
anything can collapse or things have collapsed. So
Yeah.
the conversation between investors and entrepreneurs are actually clearer, you know?
Good. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay? Not everybody. This is some people who are still dreaming, but
Mhm.
everybody learn at their own pace. But we find that some investment conversation are clearer because, well, you can't pretend to bring a business plan that has only one linear story ahead. The story of your 10 years ahead of you is a
Yeah.
linear story. A lot of business plan have got linear stories. Yeah, everything's fine, and we're gonna turn over 3 millions and what have you, but no, whoa, context can
Mm.
change.
Yeah.
So we find that business plan now I've got meteor scenarios. So that's great. And
Yeah.
it shows investors that you are prepared to think boldly. And that's another quality that you need to put in your suitcase alongside money is how you able to put together scenarios that
Yeah.
show that you're ready, what you are ready to face uncertainty. And that's the
Yeah.
quality that they look at.
And I think that's the thing. Yes, the what underpins the business plan is the starting point of your value proposition, and then that emerges into your business model canvas, and then out of that comes your business plan. The business plan is not written on the back of the fag packet. It's it goes all the way back down to this foundation of understanding who is my customer. Is there a need? Is there a problem I can actually solve? And what product can I make with my skill set? And does a customer actually want that product? Is it speaking to them? Because you can invent a solution, and I'm really good at, I invent 1,000 solutions every day. Does it link to a customer? Not
Yeah, there
necessarily.
is a, there is
Yeah.
a reason sometimes where some products never see the light.
Yeah.
So
Or
remember
just,
your customers are also your first investors, eh? Or some
and I really
investors.
like, yeah,
Yeah.
that thinking of customers as
See, they
investors.
don't want you. Just forget it. It's not gonna happen.
Not going to happen.
So and again, instead of saying I need £500,000 or $500,000, no, what is it that you need to do? What? And then what? And then what? Because along the way, the needs and the purpose may pivot, may change, or your product might see you might discover that your product is actually responding to the needs of someone totally different, and you will have different objectives. And there, a lot of people have got great ideas, but they forgot that they need a chief technical officer, someone who
Yeah.
can actually put that app together.
Yeah, that's it.
Oh, I didn't factor that in.
Yeah. Oh,
So it's
and
important to have conversations. Yeah.
definitely. So what's our call to action then for this part of our conversation?
Do you see the big white wall you have somewhere in your room. I see a great white wall behind you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You take some post-its, put all the ideas that you have, all the dreams that you have, and start to make an ecosystem map. So you've got a product or a service idea. You need to be clear about what it serves. Then you put another branch, do a mind map basically, but on your wall, because you need to see it
Yeah.
almost in real size.
Mm.
Who are the people? You don't forget about the funding for now. What capacity do you need to make this happen?
Mm-hmm.
In which context does it work? In which context this idea fails? And then you're going to see new ideas emerge, new capacity needed. Assume that someone around the world has done your idea. The minute you say nobody's done it, hasn't been invented, I can guarantee you, as someone is going to look for it, I am going to find.
Yes, yeah. There's always something, isn't it? And
yeah,
I think that's really relevant. One of my learnings with the Flow in Action and the Futures Wonderlab stuff is, I've been doing it consistently in different settings for nearly 9 years now. The difference is when I talk to libraries, because also I'm a qualified librarian, but the remit of libraries is to get people to wonder and create and imagine. And so when I describe and libraries sit in the heart of communities, and they have a remit for well-being, creativity, entrepreneurship, fueling startup journeys, and they sit in a different way within communities and young people's lives than schools. And so I have two very different conversations, and it is a very flowing conversation with libraries. And I'm like, I thought your segments of your target market can evolve and change over time. One group may need it, but not be ready for it.
Yeah.
Or know they need it. Another group is like, oh no, we're here and we're ready, and things have changed. And actually, for me this year, COVID has played a huge role in shifting needs in those markets.
Yeah.
And
so
what
I stuck in your idea of who your audience is, it might shift. So it's important to talk to other people around that and demonstrate or prototype it. You don't need a lot. You can prototype a lot of stuff with papers and color pens.
Yeah, love that.
Yeah, set yourself boundaries on prototyping. I think it's enough homework for this week, isn't it, for people?
Yeah, because it's big homework. It's not. It's fun. It's confusing. It's fun. Just like literally pause the judgment, self-policing cul-de-sacs you'll get yourself into, and just
mind map. Know your landscape. Talk to people. That is valid for people who want to change career direction as well.
Absolutely.
The skills you have. There's no need to undergo, a year full of training. Maybe you've got enough.
Just get started.
And also imagine yourself 20 years down the line. What do you want to have achieved? Projection. But I'll refer you all back to the first part of this episode about money, because it's all in there. Now it makes sense. Close the loop.
That makes sense. But I also liked how you phrased it when we have talked. Like, own your future story.
Oh yeah.
So write your future story.
Yeah.
So
on that same big white wall.
Yeah, on that same big white wall. That is your future story. Yeah.
Okay. Fantastic. Good. Ellen, thank you so much.
Thank you. Sorry for the shifting around with the sun.
No, it's great. It's great. We're going with the flow. So it was love, enterprise, and enchantment.
Yes, very much so. Yeah.
Okay. See you all next time.
Bye, everybody.
Bye. Bye.